The A380 is the world's largest passenger aircraft. It is an engineering marvel of sorts, a true double-decker aircraft with two entire floors stacked one on top of the other. And if fitted almost entirely with standard economy seats, the plane could seat around 850 passengers, which frankly sounds like a recipe for a poor in-flight experience, but regardless, it is quite an achievement. The first aircraft was delivered to launch customer Singapore Airlines back in October of 2007. Yet, by early 2019, only 12 years later, Airbus had already announced that they will be ceasing production by 2021. While this may have been a shocking and unthinkable outcome if considered back in 2007, it was somewhat expected when announced earlier this year. Why? Well, the answer is fairly simple. The aircraft simply does not meet the long-term needs of modern global airlines in today's air travel market, and that is due in large part to its size. Let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Hey everyone, this is Ben from ExploreInformed, where we dig into the details of travel, so the next time you go exploring, you can go a little bit better informed. Before we get started, I'm curious about the type of content you all want to see on this channel, so I'm throwing up a quick poll over here, and if you don't mind, let me know about the type of travel content you want to see more of on this channel. And consider liking this video or subscribing to this channel if you like what you've seen to date. But back to our story. Back in 1994, Airbus announced plans to develop a very large airplane, looking to potentially replicate the success of Boeing's large 747 aircraft, while recognizing that something more efficient was probably needed. The project evolved through the late 90s and into the early 2000s, with the European aircraft manufacturer eventually settling on a new double-decker design. And the development of such a radical concept did not come cheap, as estimates of the development costs for Airbus approached $25 billion. But the net result was pretty cool, I must say. There's nothing quite like a true double-decker plane, with enough space on board to feature some pretty unique offerings from airlines around the world, like a 3-room residence from Etihad, complete with a sitting room, a bedroom, and a bathroom, onboard bars from several carriers, as well as a huge onboard bathroom complete with showers. Having a tremendous amount of space allowed airlines to pack in previously unheard of premium features and fit several hundred more passengers than they might ordinarily fly on other aircraft. But is that what airlines really wanted? Or more importantly, is it what they need? While the concept is quite fun and sexy, Airbus didn't really have that many takers when all was said and done. As of July 2019, according to Airbus, they have 290 firm orders and have completed 239 deliveries to 14 different airlines. Emirates makes up 42% of those orders, actually, and almost 47% of the deliveries. And that is fairly important because Emirates is a government-subsidized carrier owned by the government of Dubai. Now, for the purposes of comparison, Airbus's only notable competitor, Boeing, has received orders to date for 2,035 777s and has delivered over 1,600 aircraft since its launch. Now, Boeing's 777 entered service much earlier than Airbus's A380, back in 1995, but Boeing has received 7 times the orders as Airbus has for the largest production passenger aircraft in Boeing's fleet. Boeing's 777 is still a large aircraft, and the biggest variant offered by Boeing is capable of carrying over 400 passengers. So the issue isn't that airlines don't want to buy big planes, but it's now clear they don't want to buy an extremely large plane like the A380, and there are a couple different reasons. One, they are expensive to operate, given the high passenger capacity required, and 2, as a result, the aircraft doesn't align well with some of the long-term route and network strategies of today's airlines. As you can probably imagine, it is quite expensive to get a huge quad-engine double-decker aircraft off the ground and around the planet with 500 to 800 passengers on board. And that creates a problem as you need to sell a very large portion of your seats on each flight to bring down the per-seat cost and make a route profitable and sustainable for an airline. And that means you may need to sell some of those 500 to 800 seats on the cheap to fill up the plane, which further lowers your margin. So the A380 became a very expensive plane to fly, and airlines became apprehensive about purchasing very large aircraft given what was required to adequately fill those seats, particularly during economic downturns or seasons when fuel prices were very high. Now, Airbus built the A380 this large intentionally, of course, in part based on an assumption that many airlines would continue to fly huge numbers of passengers to and from their major hubs or airports, and airlines would want big aircraft on those highly traveled routes. Some operators like Emirates have been doing just that, using their 100 plus A380s to support the huge number of passengers flying in and out of Dubai, their only major hub, but one which happens to be ideally located as a connecting point for today's global travelers. However, not all airlines are in the same position as Emirates, both geographically and financially given their government backing. Air travel has changed over the last 10 or 20 years, and airlines are plotting various courses as a result. Some have chosen to fly more direct point-to-point routes, or have spread their network and routes across a large number of hubs and airports. As a result, some airlines simply don't have the need for an aircraft with the lift of an A380. Further, as new, smaller, and more fuel-efficient airliners hit the market, like Boeing's 787 and Airbus's newest large aircraft, the A350, many airlines are opting in favor of flying smaller, more fuel-efficient aircraft more frequently. And as technology advances and our world further flattens, flights get longer and routes get thinner, and the A380 just loses some of its appeal. Now, the A380 is fun to look at and fun to fly, but at the end of the day, the A380 met the needs of too few, and Airbus was ultimately forced to pull the plug on the production line far earlier than they likely ever could have imagined. Some of the world's largest airlines have also already done the same. Singapore has already retired 5 of their airframes. Remember, we're only 12 years into the program, and other carriers like Air France and Lufthansa have already scheduled retirements of some of their aircraft from their fleets. So I guess it's only fitting to end this video with a brief moment of silence. Please join me. So that is all for this video. If you've flown an A380, comment down below and let us know what your experience was like. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ExploreInformed, and hit the subscribe button down over here if you want to catch more of our future content. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.